Hello, everybody, and welcome to fall semester of 2021 and the full stack web developer certificate program that you guys have enrolled in. And I'm hoping that's what you enrolled in. And I say that kind of in a weird way because we do get a lot of people that register sometimes in this class that are not actually intending to be in this session, and that happens. So I have students that really would prefer to take these courses in a non-accelerated format. And if that happens to be you, start by contacting your advisor and or emailing me, and we can get you into the correct session before we get too far. The first class that we're going to look at is the Web Developer Orientation. That is offered in tandem with a course called Web Programming 1, which is the first real content course in your certificate program. And the two courses are designed to be taken together at the same time, with the orientation class not only orienting you to Gateway and the way we do things, but also help support you in our activities in Web Programming 1, in many cases doing overlapping assignments, basically to support the materials. We also do a little bit of career prep and looking forward as we take this particular course. And then the Web Programming 1 course, of course, the main impetus is to code, and we will do a whole bunch of that. All right, let's begin by getting into your course shell. So if you're brand new to Gateway, and some of you are, the one way that you can get to your course shell is first by going to the Gateway website like I just did, and then logging into your My Gateway. And I'm hoping everybody's got this capability. I'm assuming those that are here in the Zoom session obviously got my messages and emails, which is why they're here. But for those of you that might be seeing this in the aftermath in the form of a video, please know that you are welcome to join the Zoom session every Monday and Thursday while these courses are active from 2 to 4 p.m. On Mondays, since I'm on campus physically, you're also welcome to come to the classroom. So I am at the Racine campus, which is the downtown campus in Racine, right on the lakefront, in the technical building on the 3rd floor in room T304. That is detailed in the course shell. And you are welcome to come to campus and sit in the classroom with me if that works better for you. And it does for some people. In prior semesters, that wasn't an option because we were doing full stack completely on Zoom in the time of the pandemic. But ultimately, this course really is designed to be fully online without Zoom sessions. The fact that we have the Zoom sessions is something that I personally add to the courses because I feel it helps to improve student success and give people a sense of connectedness. You can go into your Blackboard shell from My Gateway here by using these quick links. So go ahead and click on that Blackboard piece, and then you should see your courses listed in the right-hand side of your Blackboard window, and then find the appropriate course. We are currently in the orientation class right now, which is the 2WB section of Web Developer Orientation. So as you go from that one link to this one and land actually inside the course, you'll see some of my welcome messages here, including information about these Zoom sessions listed here. And you'll notice, and I'm sorry to be obnoxious about the coloring on these, but I want to make sure that people read these statements. I'm assuming that all of you that are here in this session are okay with the fact that you are in a full stack certificate program. This is basically a boot camp that's online, and the courses are offered in an accelerated format. So where normally, for example, this course, the orientation class, would last 14 weeks, and the Web Programming 1 would last 14 weeks. This course is condensed to 10, and Web Programming 1 is condensed to 5 weeks, ending October 1st. And that's kind of a shocker for a lot of people. It goes very, very quick. Nick, I see you have your hand up. Your question.
Yeah. So with me, I'm just in the Web Programming 1, in that Blackboard, and then for my Web Developer Orientation, I'm actually in a different class with like a different teacher. So
okay, you're with Wendy, obviously.
yeah.
Wendy Revolinsky.
Yeah.
Are you intending to enroll in the full stack certificate? That's a really good question.
Is that like takes like a month or 2 months to do that, correct?
Yeah, you know what? How about this? Why don't, as I kind of talk about the
Because
materials here, I will get to a portion where I talk about how the full stack certificate works.
okay,
And my guess is that that's not probably where you want to be. Um,
yeah,
because the web programming one class, for those of you in the session here, will start today and end on October 1st. So all the same coursework my normal students would need to complete by December, you guys need to complete by the beginning of October. And that's really intense for some people. I've had a lot of people succeed with it, but also a lot of people can kind of freak out to it if they're not intending to do that. And Nick, I'm guessing that you might be in that situation, but we can figure that out and then get you moved over to the right section so you're not in accelerated mode when you don't want or need to be.
okay, thank you.
So if the word full stack certificate is foreign to you, you probably shouldn't be here. But let's talk about that as we move along. So let's do the mechanical pieces here first. For those of you that are here for the orientation class and web programming one in tandem, I'm going to begin by covering the syllabus. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. And you'll notice that in the left sidebar here, there's an entry that says syllabus calendar and instructor information. So if you could kindly go to that link and then pull up the document that's attached to the syllabus posting. I will pull it up on screen if you don't want to pull it up on your own. So you will see it from my end through the screen share. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of quickly walk through what our expectations are and what this course is about. I will talk also about web programming one, and a lot of the material about the syllabus is basically identical. The differences are the course materials. But I will do that in abbreviated fashion when I get to web one. This will be somewhat quick as well. So the first thing that we'll look at here is the course that you're signed up for. And you want to make sure that this section number matches up with what's on your registration, that you're in the right section. And Nick, we've already established that you're not part of this orientation, you're part of someone else's. But it's still pretty pertinent information for you either way. This particular version of this course is part of our full stack certificate and offered in an abbreviated, or I would call accelerated format, which is 10 weeks long. So this course starts today and ends on November 5th, which is a Friday, 10 weeks in length. So we are counting weeks as the 5-day business weeks that we have. There's no requirement in the full stack certificate to attend any of these Zoom sessions or come to the classroom. It's fully online and asynchronous. And in very many cases, sort of like a self-paced kind of learning environment, where you do have milestones to meet on a regular basis, but really the strings are kind of cut compared to like a standard classroom environment. What I do find though is that people that are new to online learning, new to going to school, new to coding, these support sessions really make a big difference in kind of getting into the workflow of it, which is why I offer them. And
Excuse me.
Yes, please, John.
What room are you in on the Racine campus?
I'm in T304.
Because on your syllabus it says T304. I was just making sure because I wasn't 100% on that one.
Yeah, as you see that right there, T304 at the Racine campus. And that is in the technical building, which is it's the tallest building on campus and has an entryway facing the lakefront. So if you park in the lakeside lot, you take the main entrance there and ride the elevator up to the 3rd floor. And we're about halfway down the hallway. And the reason, I'm actually Zooming from here is I have a class that ends at 1:30. I don't want to race home and do it from home. Just do it from campus. Bandwidth is so much better. And plus that way you have the opportunity if you want to come here in person and meet me. Please be aware that we do have a mask mandate on campus. The only reason I'm not wearing one right now is because I'm in a locked room and nobody else is in here with me. But even if one other person is in here, I have to wear it. If you don't have masks, they are provided, by the way. And your vaccination status is completely irrelevant. Whether you're vaccinated or not, you have to wear it, unfortunately. John, are you thinking about coming to campus?
Maybe not every time, but maybe occasionally.
Okay, you're always welcome. That offer is only available for Mondays though, because Thursdays I'm typically out at the IMET campus in Sturtevant, teaching out there. All right, let's kind of plow forward on this. So some of our basic information about the course is listed here at the top. The start and end dates, the modality that we're offering, and a little bit of information about the Zoom sessions, which is also in your course shell. So I won't spend too much time on that. I do have my contact information listed here. And I know a lot of people have the question, of course, okay, how do you say that name, right? So my name is a Greek name, and in Greek, my name is Takis, right? And some of you might even know the chips of the same name that they have in the grocery store these days, which I absolutely hate, but hey, they're branded with my name, whatever. But the thing that everybody calls me here, everybody calls me Ty on campus, like TY. It's a long story that goes with it, but that's generally how I'm known around here. My preferred form of communication, generally speaking, is email. And it becomes really important, especially with you guys in the accelerated programs, that you're in the habit of checking that gateway email daily, if not multiple times a day. And for my normal students who are in the regular semester format, I say, try to check at least a couple times a week, that type of thing. But in accelerated, it's critical that you stay in touch. All course communications that are official go through email. And if you want to reach me, that's usually the best way to reach me, because often I'm in meetings or classroom or whatever. And it provides a written record of communication as well. So like if you ask me a question and I give you a response, you can go back and look at that response. It also gives me often time to think about what you're asking about or what you need help with. And if you need more of a personal connection to get any sort of help, we can always do a one-on-one Zoom, or you're always welcome to come to my office hours, which are posted inside the course shell, and I'll show you how that, where that's located. And how
Is room 312 your office?
312 is my office. That is correct, yes. All right, let's get into some of the course specifics here. So the orientation class itself has this particular course description and these competencies. And the competencies of a course typically mean what it is I'm supposed to teach you. These are your takeaways from the course. And so part of it is really to get you ready to succeed in the web courses here at Gateway. Another part of it is to look at the type of work that's available and the process for finding it. When we do the full stack version of this class, I also offer to help review your resumes and interview skills if that's something that you need, because many of us come here with the intent of, basically gaining the skill as quick as possible to get out into the workplace and work with it. And I have had many students that have come through the full stack program that have done exactly that. In fact, I plan to invite a couple of them to some of our sessions to kind of talk about what their experience was. And my humble opinion, sometimes it's better to hear it from somebody that went through it rather than have a teacher tell you about it, because it's more tangible and real, and you can ask questions that really make, to me, and get responses that really make a difference, in what you're getting. The other thing that we're kind of looking forward here towards is the fact that once you get on the pathway of learning like this, unlike some of like the commercial boot camps that you see out there, you are taking real college courses that earn real college credits and also apply to either our 1-year web degree or our 2-year web degree if that's your goal. And I always tell my full stack students, it's like, hey, you've come this far and you did all these courses so quickly, why not just keep working on it and get that degree and keep going? You will find that in this field, if you are not constantly learning, you are falling behind quickly. And that's a real critical piece. And so we focus a lot on those types of skills. Now, in terms of a textbook for the orientation class, there is not one, and there's not really any special type of gear or software that you need to succeed. Pretty much any modern computer system that can connect to the internet can most likely do this work. We are pretty Windows centric here on campus though, but a Mac or a Linux machine will work just fine. What I do not recommend is trying to do the work on a phone, a tablet, or a Chromebook. There you will be limited, generally speaking. All right, moving on here.
Sorry, not to.
Oh, please go right ahead. Absolutely.
You dropped out there for a second before you were talking about computers. Like something Windows 10 based. I'm guessing since Windows 7 is so ancient.
Yeah, that would be our recommended OS, John.
Yeah.
And what you'll see in the course shell, and I can just pop over there right now, is in Unit 0, towards the bottom somewhere, there is a hardware and software listing, and I'll go through that in detail and let you know why it's important and what actual features you need. But that's the general breakdown of what we recommend for a machine in terms of being able to do the work and not have to sit there and wait forever for things to happen and to be able to actually complete the stuff.
Yes.
So, and for the most part, you know, if you're already kind of into the IT world and into computers, you probably have a machine of this caliber. The one thing that usually gets people is this virtualization bit, but that's not something we do in the full stack program, by the way, but we do that in our regular web program where we virtualize like Android, for example.
Sure.
When we're app building. All right, so just jumping back to the syllabus here, wherever I have it, there it is. We do have some, you know, requirements, and you guys should know how we do our grading. The first thing is I do grade people on their participation. I do not keep track of attendance in any way, shape, or form. You know, attendance is not required at these sessions. I think I've said that already, but even in a regular classroom environment, I really don't necessarily keep track. But I do notice if people are doing their homework, asking questions, showing up, falling asleep or whatever in the classroom. So participating is important. And if you look at the grading percentages, participation is actually a pretty large piece. In fact, it's 15% of your total grade. Now, the way that I do my grading, and this is true for both of the courses, both the orientation and the web programming one, is that I use what I call a 100-point system. And the reason I use that system is, you know, I went through academia myself and had many different teachers who often would use what we call weighted grading, meaning that every assignment, every test was all 100 points. And then you were basically graded on a percentage, but the value of, let's say, a homework assignment was not equivalent to a test. And it's really confusing for students because they say, hey, I got a 95 on my test, why am I getting an F? You know, that type of thing. So my system is I use a 100-point system, which means there's 100 total points available in the class, each point being worth a percentage of your total grade. So how much is my exam worth? Well, it's 5 points. It's 5% of your grade. It's really easy to calculate. There's no guessing what the importance of something is. Now, when we go through the course and we get towards the end, you know, we're trying to get you obviously to pass the course. But we do have this department policy. So any program courses, and that includes all these certificate courses, you have to get a grade of C or better in order for the course to count. So if you get a C minus, sorry, you got to retake it. You know, you didn't pass, you didn't get the minimum level of capability. And that's something that's different, especially for people that are coming, let's say, fresh out of high school, where they're used to like, hey, a D minus, I made it, I graduated. You know, that's not how we operate here. We want to make sure your skill level is at a certain place. So in order to get to that C level, you do have to earn 74 points to get to that point. Now, I kind of monitor things as we progress. And if we kind of get to a point in the course where I think, hey, this person might not make that 74 points, I will reach out to you and see what we can try to work out so you can get to that point. But in short, you know, you have to do the assignments and you have to complete the tasks assigned to earn the points. Otherwise, you know, you cannot earn them. In terms of like the materials in this class, the first thing in the orientation class that you guys will probably be relieved about, there are no quizzes or exams or anything like that. This is a 1-credit course that's really designed to kind of gear you up to be successful. And it's not really heavy on homework. The real point of the orientation class for me is, aside from getting you oriented to the whole career path that you're choosing and gateway, is also to support all the things that we're doing in Web 1. So in Web 1, when we're working on connecting to the FTP server, we're going to be doing the same thing in the orientation class to reinforce the skill. And in fact, sometimes we double dip on assignments. So you do it in one class, you're also doing it in the other and earning points in both, you know. And so I find it's a really helpful support mechanism in that way. Now, typically speaking, when we're going to get to assignments, you're going to have due dates on those assignments that you should strive to meet. In other words, turn in the stuff by that due date or before to earn all the points. If you do that, do everything you're supposed to do it correctly, do it on time, there's no reason why you won't get all the points. If it becomes a little bit late or it's not quite complete or right, then you see the points diminish a little bit. But once again, this is a 1 credit orientation class, so the homework in this class is pretty light compared to like one of the content courses like Web 1. I do have some late work policies though that you guys should be aware of. So the first thing I tell people is that you'll see a lot of the due dates on assignments will be like at midnight. So let's say you have an assignment that says, turn whatever in at Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. I can assure you that I'm not sitting there at midnight on Wednesday morning, 12:01 a.m. waiting to grade your stuff. I'm not like, that's not me, right? And so in many cases, you kind of miss that deadline by a few hours or, maybe even a half day. I might not even consider it late. I'll just let it slide. However, if it is late, when we're talking about a day or 2 or 3, and we're in accelerated format, you will start to see point reductions on your score. And usually they're pretty minimal, but if it's a week late or more, the most that you're going to earn is half of those points. And that becomes a pretty big piece, because it doesn't take a genius to figure out if you're getting half the points on everything, you're probably not going to pass, right? And so you don't want to be in that situation. What I do for kind of like a little bit of a safety net here is I give people the option to submit work in progress by the due date. It's got to hit that due date. And if you can hit the due date, I give you another 3 days to work on it without late penalty, which can be a huge safety net for people. So it's like, hey, I was really busy at work, I couldn't finish up my assignment. There's your safety net. The one hard deadline that we can't cross though is the last day of class at midnight. I will accept no work beyond that point. The only exception would be is if you have set up an incomplete, which usually is a pretty rare scenario. All right, I don't want to spend too much more time on that, but I do also want to show you this little piece, which is I get out a homework free coupon. I know it's kind of goofy, but it is another one of these little safety nets. So I offer this in all of my courses, and the way that this works is pretty simple. So let's say you have an assignment, maybe at the end of the course, and you feel really stressed because of this or that, and you're like, I'm just not going to be able to get to do this one. Come in here, you grab a screenshot of this coupon, turn it in place of the assignment, and you can earn up to 2 points. And coincidentally, many of the tail end assignments at the end of the class are often worth 2 points on purpose, so that you can use that, but you can only use it once. I will not apply it automatically. You must ask for it, but I will remind you as we approach the end of the course that it's there. Another just real quick thing concerning incompletes. And in the time of the pandemic, we've seen the incidence of these go up quite a bit because, a lot of stuff is going on and the world's in kind of a strange place. But this is another safety mechanism that we have in place. So let's say you're plowing through the course and you're doing just fine, and then tragedy strikes, car accident, death in the family, illness, whatever, and you just cannot finish things up. The first thing you do is keep lines of communication open with me. You don't have to blurt out in the Zoom session, hey, I'm sick, help, but you could email me or call me and let me know what your situation is. And if we feel that you're a student in good standing that deserves to have a little bit of extra time to try to finish up the coursework, we're happy to extend the deadline a little bit. And another side benefit of this is that you don't have to pay to retake the course on top of it. Taking an incomplete, though, in some cases can throw you off course for your subsequent classes, though. So if you're in the full stack certificate, and let's say you're taking Web 1 and you're taking incomplete on it, well, Web 1 ends on a Friday, JavaScript starts on a Monday, and if your stuff's not done by that Monday, you're not going to be in that JavaScript class because Web 1's a prereq. So you have those issues too. So, but it is there as a safety net. And, you know, if we're in that situation, you know, the thing that I ask is communicate with me so I'm on the same page with you, so I know what's going on with you. And I can't help you unless I know. I mean, that's really
Can
kind
you
of it.
freeze for anyone else? Because for me, you just completely blanked out there for a good 10 seconds.
Yeah, sometimes you cut out a bit during certain moments. So
Interesting, because I'm you know, I'm on the infrastructure network here at campus. So hypothetically, my up speed should be tremendous. So it just shows you that it does fail. What part do you think you missed?
You were talking about how if you're taking this and then the next course in the full stack program, and then that's when it cut out for me.
I see. All right. So my example was this basically. Let's say you take the Web 1 course, which ends on a Friday, and the JavaScript course starts on a Monday, but you took an incomplete in Web 1. That will basically disallow you from going to JavaScript is really kind of the point. So sometimes the courses in this certificate program, you can't take JavaScript until you've taken Web 1. You can't take Web 2 until you've taken Web 1 and JavaScript. So sometimes incompletes can throw off that progress, just so you're aware. Right, does that help?
Yep.
I think that
Yeah,
sums it
thank
all
you.
up. Thank you.
All right, no problem. And hey, if I'm hiccuping like that some more, please let me know, and I'll see if I can try to maybe switch my network connection. Maybe a different jack will work, or switch to Wi-Fi and see if that helps. I would think not, but it does happen. All right, and these are some important dates you should be aware of, and these are included in every syllabus, and I just want to explain what they mean. The first part is the start and the end date for the course. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. The financial aid census date is really an indicator. Have you logged into your Blackboard shell and participated in class? And you have up until that date to do so, otherwise you will be automatically dropped. So if I have somebody that signed up and I email them and they don't show up and they don't communicate, they don't log into Blackboard, by that date, they officially drop. If you want to voluntarily drop, you have up until the 10th of September. And I believe that if you drop before that date or by that date, they might even have some sort of prorated refund on the tuition that you paid. I'm not sure what the policies are for that exactly. I have also an instructor drop period that we go through where I have a 1-week time frame to drop you. I very rarely exercise that, but it does happen. This class will have a midterm date, although the Web 1 class will not, because that will end well before we reach midterms. And then if you choose to voluntarily withdraw from the class, you have until the date listed here to do so. And that situation typically is like, if you see like the course is, hey, it's not going well, I'm probably going to fail. Don't just take the F, folks. Go to the registrar or student services and withdraw, because that means you get a W on your transcript and not an F. An F affects your GPA, a W has no effect. And that's a pretty important tidbit. All right, moving on. I have a little bit of a course calendar here. We'll come back and talk about this, but this is a roadmap for all the assignments, the due dates, and the point values of each. This is also in the course shell. And then we go through the section on college policies, and I'm not going to bore you guys with this, but these are some of the more important policies that we have on campus. All of the titles in this section of the syllabus are linkable, and they go right to the Gateway Student Handbook, so you can read the policy for yourself. Probably the most notable stuff in this section, at least for right now, would be, I guess the pandemic clause is one of them. And since I'm offering you guys the ability to come on campus if you wish, just be mindful that we do have a mask mandate. Right now, I am in a locked classroom, so that's the only reason I don't have a mask on. But they will not let you in the building basically without a mask. If you don't have one, they'll give you one All you have to do is ask. I also have some here in the classroom. I don't think there's like masked police walking around, by the way, like, I don't know, some like military Gestapo or something like that. It's not like that at all. But they are asking everybody wear them, whether you're vaccinated or not. And I know right now that the city of Racine is having like a real big spike in positive infections. And so they're trying to stem that off is really what's going on. Generally, they follow the CDC guidelines, with reason. And also, if you do come to the classroom, I just want to let you guys know that we have air purification systems, hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes, plastic shields, gloves, masks, and all sorts of stuff, to make you feel safe and to keep you safe, basically. We just really don't want people getting sick. If you are sick, please don't come to campus. You guys don't need to join the sessions anyhow, but Zoom is always a great option. In some ways, a lot of us who work, the software world actually prefer working on Zoom because the reality is when we work professionally, this is how we've been doing work for a long time in software development, having, video calls and remote meetings. Very, very common. Another area here that's pretty important is the support and disability services. And really, we're talking about Gateway's Learning Success Center, where you can go for tutoring, or if you have some sort of a disability, you can put it on file so that we can put it in an accommodation form for you. So if you're like hard of hearing, seeing, cognitively, whatever your thing is, it's good to have that on record here so that we can turn on the support services that come with. But for me, the more important piece there is that the Learning Success Center is a place where you can go for IT tutoring and work with tutors who have taken the same coursework that you guys are about to go through and know us as instructors and are really good at guiding you on getting your stuff done and staying on track. And there's no cost to those services. In fact, I will probably invite tutors to some of these sessions so you get to meet them and see that they're just like normal people. They're not scary or anything like that. And actually, they're kind of fun to work with. And if you're kind of new to all this, sometimes taking that little bit of extra support is enough to really make a huge difference. I've seen people go from like not being able to right click, no kidding, or copy paste, to getting pretty savvy with computers in a very short period of time. And I attribute a lot of that to the tutors. All right, that covers the syllabus, and I really don't like to spend
excuse me,
that
sir.
much time. Yes, sir.
So you said like the tutoring, is that tutoring only available for IT, only available at the Racine campus, or is it available at like other campuses like Kenosha or Elkhorn? Just because
That's a great question. So the IT programs currently are centered at the Racine and Elkhorn campuses.
Okay.
However, you can get the tutoring support at any of the campuses. So a couple of our Racine tutors will tutor here in Racine and Kenosha. And I don't know if they're still doing it this way, but up through this summer, they were doing all their tutoring sessions through Zoom, even if they were on campus. So like you would walk into the tutoring center, and instead of like being in a room with the person, they'd be in one room and you'd be in the other, and they're Zooming just to keep people safe, right? I know it's a little excessive, whatever,
Yeah,
but
it's
it is what it is. So I assume they'll probably keep Zoom active, but at some point, I think you can go see them in person too. And so
There's
whatever.
a schedule you can look at too.
Okay.
There's scheduling.
Yeah, and in fact, if you go to the Gateway website and just like do like tutoring, so you can tell I've searched that before. They have a spot in here. And so we'll show you what the schedules are.
Yeah.
And then they have the virtual sessions. And, for my money, it's like, if you're sitting at home, why drive to campus for tutoring is the kind of way I think about it. And then they show you when you can join the tutoring sessions, depending on what skill you're looking for. And they'll have them categorized and then in time frames. And I'll tell you what, guys, the tutors are awesome. I mean, they're really, really sharp. They're really helpful. They can totally relate because they've been where you are. And to me, that makes a difference. So, all right, so that's where the tutoring is if you're looking for it. Let's go ahead and jump back into the course shell now, and I'm going to give you kind of a really quick overview of kind of how I put my course shells together. So depending on if you've ever been a Gateway student before and might be used to our Blackboard system, or if you've never done it before, one real important thing to note is that no two Blackboard course shells are the same. Everybody's got their own style for putting them together. But being the fact that I'm a web developer by trade, I think like a web designer, and my design of my courses is it shouldn't take more than one click, maybe two, to get to anywhere I need to go in the course. So there are not like multiple layers of navigation or a folder inside of a folder inside of a folder. It's never like that. It's all on the surface. The home page will list all the active units of instruction. You can see right now there's only 2, but I will click this little button here to lift the veil, and you can see this is all of the course content. So all the unit folders and all the stuff that appears on the page, and it does get released incrementally as we proceed through the course. For right now, it's just the first 2 units that are listed. And you'll notice the first unit's called Unit 0. If you want to jump in there really quick, and this is where we can talk about the full stack certificate versus the standard program offering. First, let me just kind of pose a question for you guys. Why do I start with Unit 0 and not Unit 1? What's my thinking?
Computers start counting at 0.
Bingo, right? Computers don't start counting at 1. They always start counting at 0. It's just the thing about computer science that you get to learn. And so I figured, hey, if computers start there, that's where I'm starting too. And it's also kind of a superfluous unit in ways because it really is about getting started. So some of the stuff that you're going to see here is a reiteration of some of the syllabus material. So course description, competencies, textbook, etc. And then I have this listing here which talks about the full stack certificate program and what it is. And the first thing I have to point out is that it is a certificate offering, and it is offered within the time frame of 1 semester of regular classes. Now, a normal Gateway semester these days is 14 weeks in length, but the full stack web developer certificate is 15 weeks in length. So in 15 weeks, you will take all of these courses. That's what the full stack certificate is. All of them in accelerated format. All of them will be offered in 5-week increments, building on top of each other. And if you scroll down here a little bit, and I know I have some hard-coded dates here that are wrong, and I apologize for that. This is really what it looks like time-wise. So the orientation class and the web programming 1 class start out together and run for the first 5 weeks. After the 5th week, you then jump into the JavaScript class for 5 weeks. The orientation continues along with JavaScript, and we use it to kind of help support JavaScript as much as we can and to focus on career aspects. And then following JavaScript, you will take 2 3-credit courses simultaneously in the last 5 weeks. So you go from intense to more intense is really what happens. And normally each one of these courses, these 4 courses, which are content courses, run a 14-week semester. And we spread out all the materials and assignments over that time frame. In this format, in the full stack certificate format, we're doing all the same content, all the same homework, all the exact same amount of work. We're just squeezing it down. We're doing it 3 times as fast. Now, what happens functionally is, I was just, telling my face-to-face students here, for web programming 1, for example, it's technically 4 hours of instruction a week and in a standard format. But we usually tell students that however much time you spend in the classroom, you should expect to spend about 3 times as much outside the classroom to do your homework, to read your book, watch the videos, and work on your code. So
I have a
a
real quick
4-hour,
question, if you don't mind.
sure, please.
So for the web programmer technical diploma, we have to take all of those classes anyways, except for front end, the 2 front end classes. So if we complete all those and then optionally take one of the other front end classes, don't we end up with a certificate anyways in a lot less condensed format?
Absolutely. And John, you're hitting upon one of the little magic tricks here in our degree program. So when you get to that tail end of either the technical diploma or the full 2-year degree, you can throw in one of those 2 front end courses and also have a certificate. So it's very easy then to come out with multiple credentials. If you go through the whole 2-year degree, you end up with the certificate, the technical diploma, and the associate's degree. And
So
frankly,
another real quick question.
yes,
So I've been looking at job postings and I noticed that Angular and React are both very popular. So can we take both of those classes?
sure, if you want to. I wouldn't recommend taking both of them at the same time in accelerated format. That might even give you a heart attack, I think, because there's so much work. But if you're spreading things out over time, yeah, absolutely, why not?
You know, because I noticed that the technical diploma and the certificate is like missing one of those classes. So I was like, why wouldn't I just take it?
Yeah. John, I'm going to clue you in on a little secret too. It's not really a secret, but we're going to do some major modifications to our web program, probably starting in 2022 school year, where we will be adding the front end courses to the degree. So they will be embedded in the degree. So they'll basically become a requirement to take one of these. And then we're also going to be adding some new courses like advanced Python, web frameworks, and a couple of others. I can't think of like what all the course names are, but there will be some new courses coming down the line as well.
That's not good for me. Now I have more classes to take.
Well, there's nobody's obliging you to take them. And the whole thing about this, why do we have this like really fast way of doing this? Because what we're seeing in industry from employers in our area is they need people with these skills and they need them yesterday, and so we get people that are like, man, by the time I do going to school part-time, which most of us do, it's going to take me years even to do the 1-year diploma, and so this was an attempt to allow people to get a credential quickly and get out working. And it is difficult. I don't want to mince words here. The intensity level is high. And frankly, if you're not here to be in the accelerated version, you should think really seriously about switching to a non-accelerated version of particularly these 2 courses, the first 2 that you see at the top here. And Nick, for example, if you're already signed up taking web orientation with somebody else, I'm going to guess that your intent is not to be a full stack certificate student. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was about to ask you if is it okay if I take like the accelerated like web programming one and just having just web orientation be like 2 months? Is that okay?
I'm going to say, generally speaking, the orientation class is so lightweight that it probably doesn't matter. But the Web 1 class does matter because, you're going to, the textbook that we have for Web 1, we go cover to cover with that textbook, 14 chapters. And most of the chapters have a case study, an individual assignment, and sometimes auxiliary assignments. And the workload is basically, while you're in the full stack certificate, this is equivalent to like a full-time job, folks. You're going to be spending 40, 50 hours a week on this stuff. When you get to these last 2 courses, it might be more like 60 hours a week. And you have to be prepared for that mentally, physically. Like if you're working a full-time job and trying to do this, I wish you very good luck. I'll just put it like that because it is very intense, the amount of work and how quickly it happens. And so you have to be really on top of it to really kind of push through. And I mean, I can answer more of these questions. If you're not sure if you're in the right sections, Nick, you also have Wendy as an instructor, so you can confer with her as well. What I typically like to see is, especially for these first 2 courses, that you're taking it with the same instructor. That's usually the best plan.
Okay.
Because, you know, since like I'm teaching, you know, both of these for this full stack thing, I know
Yeah.
what I'm covering in one and what I'm covering in the other and who my students are. And
Okay.
I would hate to see you take an accelerated web 1 when you don't have to.
Well, I mean, I'm just like gonna be here at Gateway just to get my technical degree of, let's just web programmer in like a year.
Okay.
So that's
Well,
kind of
then
like my plan.
I would really strongly suggest that you switch out of this section and switch to one of the others. So I can do this really quick. Let me just pull up in Web Advisor.
Oh no, I'm taking JavaScript and like web programming too, and like second semester. I was just like asking if is it okay if we have like different teachers for web orientation and web programming.
Technically, it's okay. I wouldn't recommend it though.
Okay.
So my concern is that if either one of them is accelerated and that's not really what you're signing up for, you're asking for trouble is really what it is, right? So you'll be in another class where it's like, I have 1 assignment this week, and then you'll be in web programming 1. It's like, I got 7 assignments this week. You know, it's like that, you know, and the intensity, if you're not ready, can really kind of blow your mind. Now, if you look at the listing that we have on the screen here with these sections for web programming 1, so this first one, this is in traditional 14-week format. How do you tell? You can tell by the end date. So this ends in December. This ends in December. These end in December. This one ends October 1st, but it's
Okay.
all the same material in 5 weeks. And there's no reduction in the amount of work. It's the same amount of work.
All right.
Right. So and Nick, if you're signed up for this section of web programming
Yeah.
1, I would recommend that you try to switch to one of the others.
And if you
Okay.
can't switch, what do you recommend? Because
Say
the
that
only
again,
other
Jeff?
available class is you Mondays in the morning, and I can't make that. There's no way.
Okay, well, all right, here's the, oh yeah, I see the problem here. So the wait list is closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my issue too.
What I would do is I would try to switch to this section because we can raise the cap here to allow for more to register.
Yeah, but then we don't have the same teacher for web programming 1 and web orientation because that one's taught by Wendy.
Gotcha. Yeah, that is a conundrum, isn't it? Here's the other possibility. Well, actually, this one is Wendy.
Yeah. That one's Wendy. Okay.
That one is Wendy. And even though it says it's closed, so one of my roles here at Gateway is I'm also the chair for the IT department, so I do all the scheduling. And all I have to do is email our department associate. She can raise that number to 25, and that allows for you guys room to join. The really nice thing about taking it with Wendy is this online section is stacked with this face-to-face section. So she will Zoom every time she has class, and you can join her class live via Zoom. And then if people drop out of the face-to-face, you might even be able to come into the classroom as well. So that's really probably a good thing. So if you guys are interested in doing that, you know, and I'm not trying to lose you in my classroom at all, you know, but I want you not to be in a format that's going to freak you out. That's probably your best option is this one here. And so what I would ask that you do is that you email me, and then let's get a discussion going, and I can connect all the right dots to make it happen.
Yeah. Sounds good. That's definitely what I want to do. If like having like 2 different teachers is like not ideal for the web orientation, web programming thing. So
and this is, a confusion that we've had ever since we've been doing this. And frankly, if you've dealt with an advisor in student services, they should be able to direct you to the right place. But that's what happens. Sometimes sections fill, or you just don't know and you sign up for something mistakenly, right? And that's okay. The good thing is that Wendy is aware of this, and so am I. And we'll do whatever we can to get you to the right place so that it works best for you. And I think that's important to note. All right, let me jump back here to the course show really quick and see if there was anything else. I got a little welcome message there, and then the syllabus acknowledgement introductions, and I'm sure you guys are more than capable of completing those on your own. Let me now talk about this hardware and software thing that we were kind of mentioning. And so this is kind of, it doesn't matter which section you're enrolled in, this is kind of our department policy here on this one. And these are recommendations per se, because we can't necessarily control what you purchase, but we suggest really strongly that you have these capabilities or better if possible. We are pretty Windows centric here at Gateway. The general reason for that is because, the majority of the world uses Windows-based PCs. And so most of our instruction is based around that. However, I am, personally, I am well-versed in all the platforms, so I run Macs, PCs, and Linux machines at home on my desk, all at the same time sometimes. We just want to make sure that you have, for the most part, a full-blown computer system to be able to do your work. The reality is you should be able to do any of the work on any platform, but for the most part, we kind of, arrange things for Windows. But if you're a Mac person and you need help on that platform, I'm well versed. If you're, working on Ubuntu or Linux Mint or something of that nature, I know those platforms really well as well. In terms of the OS on a Windows machine, we do recommend Windows 10. Most people will be running the Home Edition. We do prefer professional or education, and there are ways to get that for free through Gateway, by the way, so we can get you license keys so that you can unlock Windows and get those features. If you're running one of the other OSs, we do strongly recommend that you use current distributions, mostly for security's sake and stability. Then moving down to the CPU category, we're looking for, a modern machine. So you don't want to go out and get like a Celeron or an i3 or something. And I think most of you probably get that aspect of it, but we're looking for a modern i5 or better, basically. So i5, i7, i9, a Ryzen, something of that nature. And by modern, I would say within the last few years, I would try to get something that's at like 2.5 gigahertz or higher, probably 3 gigahertz or higher on the CPU speeds and multi-core. For RAM, we have 8 gigabytes is a functional minimum, but I would call that frankly, a barely functional minimum. Early stuff that we do, like web programming 1, is pretty lightweight. But when you get to the later courses, you really do need a lot of RAM. Our classroom standard for computers, if you guys are curious, all of our classroom machines are 32 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSDs running, I think, like 9th gen i7, CPUs, multi-core. So that's kind of where we're at in the labs. For hard drives, you're going to want at least a 500 gig hard drive. We do have some IDEs that get really large, especially in the tail end of the web program. So when you get, let's say, the 3rd or 4th semester course, you're often kind of pushing your machine pretty far and running IDEs that are sometimes 100 gigs plus just for one piece of software. And so your hard drive can really fill up quickly. Strongly recommend SSDs on your machines if you guys aren't already there. The performance gains are significant. So really strong recommendation. Personally, if I was shopping, I'd go like i7 or better, at least 16 gigs of RAM, if not 32. and a terabyte SSD or better if you can afford it. You know, I mean, I know that stuff is pricey, but the performance difference really makes you a lot more productive, frankly. The one thing that usually gets people scratching their heads a little bit, and this will be irrelevant for you guys as full stack people, but relevant if you go on to the 2-year degree. So when you get into the 2-year degree, especially some of the later courses, and a real good example is you take the mobile device programming class, where we start to author apps for Android, right? And one of the ways that we test those apps is by running virtual environments. So we run a Android emulator, and you have to have this capability built into your machine in order to do it. If you buy like a $200 laptop off the shelf at Walmart, it's not going to have this capability. And in fact, this is one of those features where you walk into Best Buy and you talk to like the salesperson and say, hey, is this a machine capable of virtualization? They're like, what? they won't be able to. Most people don't know what that is even. But it's the ability that your machine has to allow it to dedicate a portion of the CPU and a portion of the RAM exclusively to a second operating system operating in tandem with the live operating system of the host. So you can run Windows, and then inside of a window, run Linux or whatever, or another version of Windows. Question I often get is like, okay, why the heck do you do that? Often when you're authoring code, sometimes you want to do that in a separate environment so it cannot pollute your host operating system, like if there's a problem with the code. Or in the Android example, because we can test how it works on a phone without having the phone, right? If you're you have an iPhone and you're writing stuff for Android and you don't have one to test it on, well, you can emulate it and run it. It's also kind of a fun thing to play with. You do want to have a good high-speed connection. Absolutely. One real important thing to note, and I don't see that I have it listed here, is that since the pandemic kicked in, Gateway has received several large grants from the federal government. So if you guys are sitting there going, oh, man, I don't have a computer, like I just have a Chromebook, and you don't have the means to get yourself a better computer, and maybe your internet connection is horrible, Gateway can provide those things to you free of cost. All you have to do is ask. Who do you ask? You talk to your instructor, tell us your situation, and chances are, for the most part, if you're receiving financial aid, you probably qualify, and that's most students. And they'll give you a laptop with these capabilities and a cellular Wi-Fi hotspot if you can't afford to have internet at home. And there's no embarrassment in asking for it. The equipment's sitting there available. All it takes is a quick request, and usually we can fill the request within a day or two. It's a pretty quick turnaround. Just reach out and ask for it. Now, in terms of like the software that we use, the one thing that we always ask is you have an up-to-date operating system, mostly for security's sake. All of the instruction will be typically done on Windows 10. It's all the examples. But the other software that you can see, everything else that's listed here is really available to you free of charge, including the Office suite. We have several of those that you can actually choose from. And any other software, we kind of talk about it as we go, and we make recommendations. But the reality is that any tool that you want to use that can do the work is fine by us. Even if you want to use paid software, that's up to you, but there's no reason to pay for the software when you can get most of it for free. And that's one of the beauties of doing web work, is out of all the IT disciplines, it's the one where you can get by on the cheap, more so than other, programming areas, honestly, because really all you need is a text editor and a browser when it really comes down to it. But having better tools also often yields better results. We will do entire sessions on like what software to use and where to download it from and how to install it and what tools are cool and what are not. And maybe you guys know of tools that I don't know about, and I'm always all ears to hear about them if you hear of something cool. Any questions on the hardware and software part? You guys cool with that? Okay.
What graphics editing program do you guys recommend?
Well, okay, now recommending, for the amount of graphics work that we do in the Web Programming 1 class, you can really get by using the stuff that's built into Windows, frankly, right? So Windows Paint or Paint 3D will work just fine. As far as freebies go, GIMP is kind of one of the preferred ones. We also recommend some browser-based ones like Pixlr. I know there's many others, and if you know of a better one that you like that's out there and for free, go for it, is what I say. In terms of what professionals use, well, that's a separate story. So I do talk about that in class too. So, I mean, when you go out into the field and you're working with graphics, the de facto standard is Photoshop. And if you're working with vector graphics, it's Illustrator. Now, the reason that we don't bundle that into the program is because that has an extreme cost to it. Sometimes students can't afford that. But I'm just speaking as a functional professional. I've been using the Adobe products now for like, I don't know, 30 years. And then when they switched to a subscription format, I was all in, and I don't get the student discount rate. I pay like 50 or 60 bucks a month. But it's totally worth it because I use the stuff all the time, right? And when you go out into the workplace, big design houses for web, those are the tools they're using. So it's not a bad idea to get to know them. And if you have the money to spend or you want to just try this stuff out, there's trial versions. And I think the introductory student subscription rate is $20 a month for the first year, which isn't too bad. Any other thoughts on that? Any questions or anything? All right. So I have a couple of other little activities and notes here, but what I'd like to do now is I want to kind of switch over to the Web Programming 1 course and kind of do a real quick rifle through of the syllabus. It will be very fast, I promise. And then we'll start digging into a little bit of material while we still have a chance and kind of get the process going of getting the class started. So I'm going to jump over to that course shell now. So I'm just going to go over to my Blackboard here and find the course and bring it up on screen. You'll see a very similar layout. You can tell it's the same teacher teaching it. And I have, once again, the same kind of little announcements up here at the top that will probably remain for a while. The welcome one will probably go away in about a week or so. Same thing here. I have a couple of units released, including the Getting Started area. The Getting Started area kind of reiterates a lot of the same stuff. You will notice that we do have a textbook here. We'll talk about that in the syllabus. Then I have that full stack information once again. Well, let's just jump over to the syllabus really quick and take a quick look at kind of the differences basically between the two syllabi that we looked at. All right, so first of all, Web Programming 1, I might argue, or I guess I will, that it's maybe the most important course you take in the whole degree program, because it is the one that sets the foundation for where all the other work builds. So if you don't know your basic HTML and CSS, you're not going to be building much else on top of it. And so from that standpoint, these technologies are critical. And those are the two main technologies we focus on here. This is a 3-credit course. And normally it is offered in a 14-week format. So we spread the content out, over 14 weeks and cover basically the entire book cover to cover, all 14 chapters. Once again, same, Zoom setup for that, all the same basic contact info. The course description is as follows, and you can see some of the topics that we cover. And I'll let you read that for yourself. But then when you look at the textbook here, and I do want to talk about this. We just jumped up to the 10th edition, by the way, as of this semester. So this is our first semester using it. We have been using this book from this author for quite a while here at Gateway. And the note I want to make is that basically from the 7th edition through the 10th, as far as I can tell, there's not a whole lot of difference. So if you were able to get your hands on a 9th edition book or an 8th edition book, you could functionally work from those. And you also might have the question, Do I buy it or do I rent it? Do I get a hard copy? Do I get an ebook? Those are real common questions. If you were to outright purchase this book, I think the shelf price on it is somewhere in the $200 to $300 range, which is a kind of a bitter pill to swallow, you know. And then, as happens with IT books, you spend all this money on it, and then 2 years later, the content changes, and oh my God, it's useless, and I spent all that money. So for my money, my recommendation is rent an ebook version of the book. And why an ebook? Well, you're going to be working on screen anyhow, is kind of the way that I look at it. So why not have it on the screen to begin with? You don't have to lug it around that way. And getting an ebook gives you practically instantaneous access to the book. So you don't have to wait for like Amazon to ship it or whatever. And if you're in the accelerated version of the course, that can become a big issue, because by the time we get to next week, we're going to be a few chapters deep already. And you don't even have the book yet, you're going to be in trouble, you know? So a strong recommendation is to get the ebook version and do it immediately. You know, and if I'm not sure if you guys are here on financial aid or what your situation is, but if you can't afford a book, I'm just going to put it out there, we have old copies from some of our old boot camps that we used to do here that we'd be glad to borrow out to you if it comes down to that, you know, but they would be older editions. You know, let's say you just can't afford it. You know, I'm just going to put that out there. Just send me an email. I'll get you set up. Like we talked about, required materials, you know, modern computer, all the other software is basically free. The course competencies, this is really a listing, frankly, of like what I'm supposed to teach you. And these are things that we will cover as we go through this course. So these are the basic topics of the course. All right, and I think all the other stuff here is pretty much identical. The one difference with Web Programming 1 is that there are exams. There's a midterm exam and a final exam, each worth 5 points, or 5% of your grade. All the same stipulations apply. You will notice that the late work policy here is a little bit tighter, and that's because this is a 5-week course as opposed to a 10-week course. And so we just really don't have time to let it slide. You know, that's the reality. If you were to look at a standard version of this course, these time frames are 1 week and 2 weeks, you know, so, you know, on a 14-week schedule. But basically all the same principles are there. Any questions on this syllabus? I would assume not, because we just kind of did all the syllabus stuff. All right, why don't we do this? If you guys are cool with this, let's take a 5-minute break, because we've been going for a little while here. So, you know, stand up, you know, refresh your beverage, go to the bathroom, stretch your legs. So it's about 3:15. Let's come back at 3:20, and we'll try to kick into some material and get the class rolling. All right. All right. See you in 5.